Hey, 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 happy Tuesday. Come on in, pull up a chair. The Daily Dope is in the air. Howdy, 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 gang. Yes, I'm Jeff McAleer, back once again as your host here at The Daily Dope, presented by thegaminggang.com, of which I happen to be the Grand Poobah. So welcome aboard. Got a big show tonight. I am going to be taking a first look and paging through the latest Dungeons & Dragons adventure supplement from Wizards of the Coast, Ghosts of Saltmarsh. So that's going to be coming up in just a little bit. I will also announce how you can win a copy of the limited edition Ghosts of Saltmarsh. So that'll be a little bit later in the show. Do want to mention Smokey's on my lap to start the show today because I've got both kitties down here in the Duct Tape Studios. So we'll see how long Smokey stays on my lap. She's poking me to get petted right now, which is a little tough. Say hello to everybody there. Good old Smokes. Lay back down. Yeah, I can't be petting her and operating the different scenes and things like that. So, before we get into the show, do want to mention tonight is Tuesday, May 7th, 2019. This is episode 298 of the Daily Dope. So yes, just time's flying, isn't it? 300 episodes almost. Pretty amazing. Also want to mention I've got some new music that is in the kind of, it's not the intro music, but it's the music that I have a little scene that I start the stream with and then I come on. Well, that music is actually from Dan over at No Enemies Here, which is a show that airs on YouTube on Saturdays. And it's a bunch of news, a lot of gaming news, things like that. Usually it's kind of more focused towards conflict simulations. But anyway, do have a big show today. Got a lot of news. Okay, maybe not a lot of news, but there is news today. Got 4 news pieces. Because this is a live stream, if you are watching on YouTube, there is chat available. So if you want to say hello, or if you have a question, or maybe there's something about Ghosts of Saltmarsh you want to get a closer look at, by all means, chime in. I will respond. Do point out that chat is not on screen, but I do pay attention to it. I don't have it on screen because it keeps some of the stranger commenters at bay. Now, of course, if you like the video, be sure to give it a thumbs up. If you check out some of the videos on the Gaming Gang channel and you dig them, by all means, please subscribe. If you do, be sure to ring that bell because that bell will not only notify you when there's a new video on the channel, it'll also tell you within about 5 minutes of when the stream goes live. So, as I mentioned, I've got a contest to win a copy of the limited edition of Ghosts of Saltmarsh. I will actually reveal that after we do our first look and we do our page through. So as I mentioned, there is news available today. We're going to talk about some tabletop gaming news. I know there are people out there who are not fans of the tabletop gaming news. If that's the case, please look in the show notes. You can skip right ahead and you don't have to actually catch any of the news. Then again, there are a lot of people who actually dig the news, including myself, so I like to include it on the show. So first off, do want to point out USAopoly has a fantasy roll and write game, which is on the horizon, and I've got the dope on Dungeon Academy. Take the mighty pen as your proverbial sword for the fight to earn your adventurer's diploma from Dungeon Academy. The exciting roll and write game coming soon to North America through the OP, which is how USAopoly likes to refer to themselves now, as the OP or OP. I'm not sure which. I think it's OP. All right, so long, Smokes. See you later. I knew she wouldn't stay too long. That's okay. She makes up for it the rest of the day. Just sacking out on my lap all the time. Anyway, face threatening foes and collect life restoring potions in this fast and competitive light strategy game where players take on the role of students pining to graduate from the most renowned school in the realm. This summer brings a release of Dungeon Academy to the US and Canada through a recent partnership with award winning French game publisher Medigo. I believe it's pronounced that way. 1 to 6 players are presented with a series of 4 tests or levels filled with unpredictable monsters and healing potions that comprise the floor of the dungeon. Each level is randomized by 16 six-sided dice, which are rolled into a 3D assembly and inverted, revealing 16 rooms of blobs, reapers, ghosts, colossuses. I guess that's plural of colossi. I thought it would be colossi, not colossuses. Health and mana to anxious players once the dungeon roof is lifted. Simultaneous play begins as students race to draw the most favorable route in, through, and out of each level, taking hits to their energy from encounters with monsters, while restoring it with every potion. If a player's health or mana is depleted before their path is resolved, they fail the test and forfeit points or glory. The student with the most glory after the 4 levels earns the coveted Adventurer's Diploma to win. Dungeon Academy is for 1 to 6 players, ages 10 and up, plays in around 20 minutes, and will arrive sometime in Q3. I do not have any sort of MSRP information as well. I'm taking a stab, probably somewhere between $30 and $40 is my guess. And Dan from No Enemies here is popping in to chat. Hey Dan, good to see ya. Dan just arrived. He missed me actually giving him a shout out for our stream music that we start off. Hey, and the Madman is in chat as well. Good deal. I'm sure we'll have a few more people popping into chat as the show goes on, simply because, as I've mentioned before, YouTube doesn't immediately tell people the stream is live. Anyway, let's move on to our next news piece. Pretty heavy on role-playing game news tonight, because Far Future Enterprises has a new printing of the venerable Traveler role-playing game up for crowdfunding. Here's the dope. Traveler is back, and it's better than ever. We've listened to your feedback over the past couple of years and have returned to bring you what you've all been asking for, a brand new print run of Traveler 5th edition, complete with errata and a handful of useful upgrades. We're also incorporating the lessons learned after that edition, feedback on systems, errata, and even some new systems. Most evident is our new easy-to-use format. The original Traveler many years ago, actually many years ago, was 3 black books, 48-page black-covered booklets with the titles Characters in Combat, Starships, and Worlds and Adventures. We're formatting this edition as 3 big black books with the same titles, but 280 pages, book 1, or more, 304 pages for book 2 and book 3, and all in a slipcase. We've been working on this project constantly since 2015. Oh, there were breaks along the way. After the last printing, I was inspired to write the Traveler novel, Agent of the Imperium, somewhere in there. I had a quadruple bypass, not me personally. I think this is Mark Miller who wrote this. I've recovered, thank you. But we've been playing Traveler 5 and working through its rules and concepts. Now is the time for a reprint. Adventuring in the Traveler 5 universe, the Traveler 5 core rules are a foundation, and they support all sorts of adventuring within the rich Traveler universe. To help everyone get started, we've created a set of 5 Traveler epic adventures. The voyages of the free trader, insert name here. That's kind of funny. This 32-page PDF follows the exploits of any free trader as it wanders through Regina's subsector in the Spinward Marches. We'll release it at the same time the physical books ship, that is, in August. There is a Kickstarter video. It's about 2.5 minutes long, so let's kick back and take a look. The project is well over 600% funded, and you can reserve the core books in PDF for a $30 pledge, or receive the slipcase hardcover set for a $100 pledge through June 6th. Expected delivery is actually August of this year. A unscripted and unchained RPG review has arrived. Hey, you and you. That's how I like to just kind of shorten it all down. Good to see you. So I have to ask. All right, what's going on? We're showing some drop frames. What happened here? Okay, what's going on? Looks like we paused for a sec. All right, so those watching the stream, you may have seen a bit of a pause there. My apologies. Looks like we may have had a little hiccup here online. Although, strangely enough, when we hit that kind of like drop frames thing that goes on with my software, usually it's fine on the actual rendered video on YouTube. Anyway, what I was going to point out was, did that video for the new print of Traveler really incent you to back the Kickstarter? I don't know. I gotta be honest. I mean, that looked really cheesy. It wasn't even in 720p, for crying out loud. That's why it looked so poor. And I gotta be honest, if you go to farfuture.net, it's sort of like 2003 called, they'd like their website back. Now, I am not necessarily telling people do not back this Kickstarter. There are loads of Traveler fans out there. I had the original black box with the 3 little booklets. I had like all the like first edition Traveler stuff. I wish I still had it. But I had picked up like Mega Traveler, Traveler 2300, a lot of GDW stuff back in the day. But, I don't know. I mean, does Traveler need a new print? It's not really a new edition. Does it need a new print run? I don't know. I have no idea. So, Dan from No Enemies here says, yeah, it was cheesy but cool. Hey, like I said, I am not trying to tell people don't back this. So, I'm just saying, actually, $30 for, what is it, like 800 pages? That's not too bad in PDF. All right, so do you want to point out Modiphius Entertainment has a new Conan supplement in print and PDF. And I've got the dope on the Monolith sourcebook. Consider what I've told you, Barbarian, said Zaltotun. You will have plenty of leisure. I have not yet decided what I shall do with you. It depends on circumstances yet unborn. But let this be impressed upon you, that if I decide to use you in my game, it will be better to submit without resistance than to suffer my wrath. Since the introduction of fantasy into wargaming, Robert E. Howard's Conan has loomed large across popular culture, recently inspiring the award-winning Robert E. Howard's Conan Adventures in an Age Undreamed Of role-playing game and Monolith's hit Conan board game. Here for the first time ever is the crossover between these two games. Miniatures and role-playing adventure meet in the Hyborian Age. Developed closely with Monolith Entertainment, the Monolith sourcebook provides players and game masters with a host of exciting material, new campaigns for both games, standalone adventures, and advice for creating original board game adventures using the role-playing resources. It includes a Red Tide to Kush, a complete board game campaign with 10 new scenarios, a solo/cooperative campaign made up of 9 new scenarios for the board game. There's Shadows from Gulsaga. Taking a guess. A complete role-playing adventure campaign set in the legendary Black Coast. There's rules for solo and cooperative play for the board game. Guidelines for using Conan tiles and role-playing resources to create new scenarios for the board game. Characters, monsters, equipment, and artifacts from Ambula the Spearman to Zuthal's Crown. Get the most out of Monolith's Conan board game with this essential sourcebook. Do want to point out this does require 2 Conan tile sets, Perilous Ruins and Forgotten Cities, and Forbidden Places and Pits of Horror. I hate those pits. To play. The Conan board game King's Pledge for tabletop action and the Robert E. Howard Conan Adventures in an Age Undreamed Of core rulebook for role-playing game excitement. Do want to mention the 120-page Conan Monolith sourcebook is available in print for $26.99 or in PDF from DriveThruRPG for $14.99. Of course, whenever I mention DriveThruRPG, I always like to point out, yes, the Gaming Gang is an affiliate of the One Bookshelf sites, so if you are going to go to, say, DriveThruRPG, please stop by thegaminggang.com, click on one of our banners, and that way, when you get to DriveThruRPG, if you do make a purchase, a small portion of that sale comes my way. And I gotta be honest, I say it all the time. Really, really adds up. Most months, our hosting, which is not cheap, is paid for from all those nickels and dimes and quarters from hundreds of purchases. So, from the bottom of my heart, people out there who are using our banners, thank you. All right, so let's see what's going on in chat. You can get the original for less, can't you? The original Traveler, I believe. Here's the weird thing. Here, let's do this. Let's answer some questions. We'll go back to the news in just a sec. So here's the weird thing about Traveler. There are umpteen different editions of Traveler out there. So there's Mark Miller's Traveler, and Mark Miller is the original designer for Traveler. So there's that. There's also Mongoose still has their Traveler. And the weird thing is, it's not as if back in the day you had Traveler, then you had like Traveler 2300, and then you had Mega Traveler. So each of those was supposed to be taking place at a different point in time, usually hundreds of years apart. Like Traveler 2300 is supposed to be like humanity just kind of going out into the stars, establishing themselves in the galaxy, you know. Nowadays, I have no clue because it's just Traveler. And I have heard, I have not really seen it, I have heard that like the Mongoose Travelers, they'll have a release that's like, wow, this is great, and then they'll have 3 releases in a row that are just like a waste of money. So I don't know. But Mark Miller's Traveler is not associated with Mongoose Publishing, so I don't know. But as far as getting the original, I think the original's on DriveThruRPG, possibly. Here's the thing about Traveler that I never really got into, even though I bought all the stuff, because I'm one of those game masters who just buys stuff, reads it, never runs it, but I might steal a piece here and there, right? Just because I love reading RPG stuff. Traveler always left me a little flat. Traveler didn't have, and I'm not like somebody who needs like tons of fluff, because we're going to get into when we're taking a look at Ghosts of Saltmarsh. I'm going to talk about something that that some people refer to as the failed novelist syndrome. But just never seemed like really, I mean, there was a lot of background in that, but it never kind of drew me in as far as like adventures and stuff. The adventures were usually very cut and dry, not a lot of personality. I think that's what I'm trying to say is I didn't find a lot of personality in Traveler. That said, system's pretty good, and a lot of people love it. A lot of people my age just have wonderful memories of playing Traveler. So, I don't know. So you says Conan 2D20 is a top-notch game system for Hyborian adventuring. I completely agree. Okay, now granted, I got to admit, I only reviewed the core book, but I thought the core book was absolutely fantastic. I thought it was really, really well done. So yes, I completely agree with you. Modiphius Entertainment did a really, really nice job with Conan. They did a great job with John Carter of Mars, too. Just recently reviewed that. All right, so let's get back into the news, because Paizo Inc. is going to be celebrating the 10th anniversary of their Kingmaker adventure path with a new edition next year, but it is up for funding right now. Here's the dope. Today, Paizo Inc. launched the Kingmaker 10th anniversary crowdfunding campaign at KingmakerCampaign.com. The campaign is based around 4 books: The Kingmaker Adventure Path, converted to the newest Pathfinder edition; The Kingmaker Companion Guide, inspired by the Owlcat Games computer role-playing game; an old-school Kingmaker Bestiary for Pathfinder 1st edition; and a Kingmaker Bestiary for 5th edition Dungeons & Dragons. Okay, I said Dungeons & Dragons, they just said 5e. More add-ons and unlocks will be revealed as the campaign progresses over 2 weeks at Game on Tabletop. The campaign will end on May 21st at midnight. In 2010, Pathfinder's Kingmaker Adventure Path raised the bar on what a tabletop fantasy RPG campaign could be. All right, that's a little too much patting yourselves on the back there, gang. Come on. With open-ended sandbox-style adventures, Kingmaker beckoned players to claim their throne and carve a new nation out of the treacherous river kingdoms, map hex by map hex. Tens of thousands of gamers answered the call, ranking Kingmaker among the best-known and best-loved tabletop campaigns in history. A stunning 576-page hardcover, The Kingmaker Adventure Path, provides GMs everything they need to run this epic campaign. All 6 chapters published in 2010 will be updated to Pathfinder 2nd Edition rules, incorporating a decade of player and GM feedback and new characters, conflicts, and plots inspired by the best-selling digital adaptation of the campaign that released last fall, including a new prologue making its tabletop debut in this release. Detailed appendices provide GMs with flavorful gazetteers of the campaign's myriad locations, with the stolen lands at large to the rival city of Pitax. The Kingmaker Adventure Path also features complete rules for I need a sip here. Complete rules for hex, slap, map exploration, and kingdom building and management to bring the campaign's most innovative elements to life at the table. Lastly, a bestiary of new and updated monsters that feature prominently in the adventure path gives GMs of any campaign new tools to torment their player characters with. As the campaign levels up, the size of the book will grow to include new content. The adventures don't stop in Kingmaker's core campaign, though. Inspired by the hit computer role-playing game from Owlcat Games, the Kingmaker Companion Guide is a 32-page softcover compendium designed for Pathfinder 2nd Edition. Additionally, the book has the potential to increase in pages as the crowdfunding campaign levels up. Paizo has old-school Pathfinder players covered with the hardcover Kingmaker Bestiary for Pathfinder 1st Edition, a 160-page monster and NPC resource that converts the new companions, NPCs, and monsters unlocked by this campaign into Pathfinder 1st Edition. They can play along in the new and updated encounters with this helpful conversion guide, featuring back-converted stats for the entire Kingmaker campaign, plus other rules, conversions, tips, and tricks to run the campaign as smoothly as possible. This is something I find really interesting. Why limit the fun of the Kingmaker Adventure Path to Pathfinder players? With the Kingmaker Bestiary for 5e add-on, GMs and players of the 5th edition of the world's oldest role-playing game. I love how they didn't say most popular, right? Which is like everybody when they're talking open gaming license. It's the world's oldest role-playing game. Can gain access to more than 140 monsters and key NPCs from the Kingmaker Adventure Path. With 5e conversions by our industry-leading partners at Legendary Games, this 160-page hardcover volume is an add-on from day one. Whether used as a companion volume to help convert the entire Kingmaker campaign, or as a handy way to add new challenges and foes to 5e campaigns of all varieties, these time-tested critters and foes are sure to keep players on their toes. There is a video, it's about 3 minutes long, that is going to tell you more about the Game on Tabletop campaign for Kingmaker.
In 2010, in the wake of the record-breaking launch of the Pathfinder role-playing game, Paizo raised the bar of what a fantasy campaign could be with the release of the Kingmaker Adventure Path. The 6-part campaign put the players in the role of explorers, taming an unconquered wilderness, ridding it of bandits and monsters, and forging a new nation in the treacherous river kingdoms. The Kingmaker Adventure Path has become one of the best-selling and most beloved campaigns in Pathfinder's history, in part because its open-world narrative and kingdom-building elements gave players and game masters unparalleled freedom to explore and shape the world with their heroic actions. In 2018, the developers at Owlcat Games adapted Kingmaker into a best-selling computer RPG, expanding upon the original story with new characters, conflicts, and an entirely new chapter of the epic adventure, bringing the fan-favorite campaign to a new audience with expanded kingdom-building and management features, scores of new wilderness locations to explore, and more than a dozen companion NPCs and side quests. Now, Paizo is excited to bring 10 years of development and Owlcat's innovative expansions back to your gaming table. Just as the best-selling Rise of the Rune Lords and Curse of the Crimson Throne hardcovers compiled and updated these iconic adventure paths in their respective volumes, the forthcoming Kingmaker Anniversary Edition will update the campaign to the Pathfinder 2nd Edition rules set. This 576-page hardcover will provide game masters everything they need to run the Kingmaker campaign, incorporating new narrative elements from Owlcat Games and 10 years of feedback from Kingmaker players and GMs. As the campaign progresses, we'll unlock more details to expand the campaign even more. The 32-page Kingmaker Companion will bring 2 of the key NPC companions from the computer RPG into your tabletop campaign. You'll have game stats, side quest encounters to flesh out their stories, and expanded kingdom management roles for each. At later funding tiers, the book will expand to include additional companions. Paizo is excited to also include support for the 5th edition of the world's oldest role-playing game. The Kingmaker Bestiary will provide 5th edition stats for the monsters and key NPCs that appear in the Anniversary Edition hardcover, giving 5th edition GMs the tools they need to tell this epic tale. Over the course of the campaign, we'll unlock additional content, expanding the size and scope of the campaign, as well as add-ons designed to increase immersion and provide options for players and GMs alike. Help us celebrate the 10th anniversary of the Kingmaker Adventure Path and bring this epic campaign to a new generation of gamers and to your own tabletop.
The Kingmaker crowdfunding campaign began at Game on Tabletop this afternoon. It's already over 75% of the way to its funding goal. I think it was about 78%, I want to say, when I saw it about an hour and a half ago. You can reserve the campaign book and companion guide in PDF for a $50 pledge, or receive both the print and PDF editions for an $80 pledge through May 21st. Expected delivery is late 2020. Some interesting things about this crowdfunding campaign. I gotta be honest, I'm not sure if Paizo's ever done one before. Maybe they have, I'm just not aware of it. I do find it interesting that they're doing Game on Tabletop. They're not over at Kickstarter. And I think one of the reasons is their former PR person is actually involved with Game on Tabletop. So that's a possibility there. Kind of surprised too. Some 5e. There's the bestiary for 5th edition D&D. That's a first. And it seems like Paizo's hedging their bets a little bit as far as 2nd edition by actually having a 1st edition bestiary as well. I don't know. I do understand that we should be seeing the 2nd edition wave of products. At least Aaron over at Paizo has informed me of that. Fingers crossed. So we'll get to check that stuff out. So pretty cool that we've got, I gotta say, for a $50 pledge in PDF, you're looking at 700 pages. That's pretty decent. Even $80 for the physical books. Now we're talking the 2 books. We're talking the Kingmaker Adventure Path hardcover and then the softcover campaign guide, or companion guide, I guess they call it. Usually, if you think about it, the softcover adventure paths which usually an adventure path is made up of like 6 releases, they're usually about $25 softcover. So $80 for a hardcover plus a softcover, pretty good deal. Should be pretty cool. So before we jump into some other things, Dan had asked in chat, and I'll just say Dan as opposed to every time I have to say Dan from No Enemies Here. That's why Dan's hanging out in chat, because every time he says something, I have to plug his show. Now I figured it out. Anyway, Dan had asked essentially, how much fun is it to be a game master as opposed to being a player? Not being familiar with role-playing games, figures it'd be a lot more fun to be a player. I got to admit, I love being a game master. I have a blast. Then again, I had started actually posting little game master tips of the day. Not that I'm going to have one every day on Twitter, but today I had posted out that no matter how much you're in love with the plot of an adventure you've come up with, or an adventure that maybe you've purchased, it's, already written by somebody else that you're going to run, always expect the unexpected, because players are never going to do exactly what's predicted. And honestly, those are the moments that lead to just parts of an adventure that people will remember decades later. So I love the fact that I'll have some things running through my head. I'll have kind of a structured adventure in mind, but then I'm always open to have to kind of fly by the seat of my pants, I guess we'll say, and kind of roll with the punches, because never fails, your players are going to derail your adventure, sometimes intentionally, and I have a blast kind of dealing with that, kind of rolling with those punches. Then again, other people don't. Other people can't stand when people come out, when an adventure comes off the rails. So, but that's one of the reasons why I say not everyone can be a good to great or to excellent game master out there. I think it takes a certain kind of person. So that is it for today's news. Before we jump into the first look and page through of Ghosts of Saltmarsh, let's talk about what's coming up on the show this week and into next. Tomorrow, for the war gamers out there, it is Wednesday, so it's a War Game Wednesday. I'm going to take a first look and unbox Time of Crisis, the Roman Empire in Turmoil, from my friends over at GMT Games, as well as the Age of Iron and Rust expansion. So that will be on tomorrow's show. I'll be taking a look at that. Thursdays are normally role-playing game day. Nights, I guess I should say. So on Thursday's show, we are going to take a first look at the highly anticipated Things from the Flood from Free League Publishing and Modiphius Entertainment. I understand. Now, I haven't cheated. I have not looked at this, just like I have not looked into here either, because when I do a first look, when I do a page through, I like to discover things just like somebody watching live. But I have heard that this is a little bit darker than Tales from the Loop. Like in Tales from the Loop, the game master is kind of it's kind of laid out that the kids should not die, because the player characters tend to be kids or really early teens. Things from the Flood, the player characters are older, and I understand that there's kid gloves have come off. That there's no recommendation that you don't kill off the player characters. Interesting. So that'll be on Thursday's show. Friday, I will be reviewing Mystic Vale from AEG. Yes, I am finally reviewing Mystic Vale. My gosh, this has been out forever. But we're also going to take a look at the latest Mystic Vale expansion as well. So that's on Friday's show. Then Monday, we're going to take a look at, you know what? I'm not even sure about the pronunciation of this. Shalia? I'm taking a guess. Warring States. This is a game that's going to be coming to Kickstarter. So we're going to take a look at this. I like the artwork. The artwork's pretty cool. So this is a prototype that was sent to me. So we will be looking at this on Monday's show. All right, so there you have it. Do want to point out that if you like thegaminggang.com, if you dig the Daily Dope, or some of the other videos that pop up on the Gaming Gang channel here at YouTube, keep in mind it's pretty much a not-for-profit system going on here. So if you like the show, if you like the website, please consider making a small donation to Lil Bub's Big Fund and the American Society for the Prevention of Cruelty to Animals. Yes, Lil Bub's Big Fund does provide grant monies for organizations who care for special needs animals who are awaiting adoption. We're not talking about funding kill shelters or anything like that. Now, these pets might require medication every day. They might have mobility issues. Maybe they're blind. Maybe they're deaf. Maybe they're old like me. Still, these pets do deserve love and loving homes, and Lil Bub's Big Fund helps provide for that. So, do also point out that if you do make any sort of donation, shoot me an email if you'd like, and I will definitely give you a shout out on the following show. You don't have to prove it or anything like that. All right, so I know people are tuning in because they want to check out Ghosts of Saltmarsh. That is correct. Ghosts of Saltmarsh is for Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition. It's from Wizards of the Coast. It's available May 21st. It is not out in stores yet. It will carry an MSRP of $49.95. So let's swing on over to the other camera. This is the standard edition. This is the limited edition, which the fine folks over at Wizards of the Coast were kind enough to send me as well. This is what I will be giving away. Now, one thing I do want to point out, with the limited edition covers, normally these go for about $100 or more in the secondary market once they come out. Now, one thing that I find is interesting before we start paging through here is on Amazon for the pre-order, they're showing that this is available May 16th, and that is not the case. So I don't know what's going on with Amazon. Maybe it's like, okay, so it'll start shipping on the 16th to expect to put it in your hands, I don't know, on the 21st? I have no idea. So let's take a look at the back of the book. Grab a quick sip too. Adventure on the High Seas. Nestled on the coast of the Azure Sea is Saltmarsh, a sleepy fishing village that sits on the precipice of destruction. Smugglers guide their ships to hidden coves, willing to slit the throat of anyone fool enough to cross their path. Wow, that's dark. Cruel Shugawin gather beneath the waves, plotting to sweep away coastal cities. Drowned sailors stir to unnatural life, animated by dark magic and sent forth in search of revenge. The cult of a forbidden god extends its reach outward from its decaying port, hungry for fresh victims and willing recruits. While Saltmarsh slumbers, the evils that seek to plunder it grow stronger. Heroes must arise to keep the sea lanes safe for all. This supplement introduces the port town of Saltmarsh, the perfect starting point for a nautical campaign. 7 sea-based adventures, including the classic The Sinister Secret of Saltmarsh and its sequels, take characters from 1st to 12th level. Also inside are rules and DM advice for ships and sea travel, as well as deck plans for various vessels. An appendix provides rules for the new and classic monsters in the adventure. Hoist your sails, pull up anchor, and set a course for adventure. All right, let's crack this baby open here. So we have the new setting. So we've got Saltmarsh. So we've got the new setting of Saltmarsh. Hey! Kabuki Kids popping in just in time for the first look and the page through. So, Sinister Secret is Saltmarsh, and the 2 adventures after it, I believe Danger at Dunwater and Salvage Operation, we're originally standalone modules for first edition Dungeons and Dragons. They were published in the UK, if I remember correctly. I believe they were also available here in the US, but they were written by British gamers for first edition D&D. The other adventures in this book are actually from Dungeon Magazine. So I am sort of like, So we've got a bunch of the credits from the originals. We'll actually go down through these. We've got an introduction talking about using the book. So Sinister Secret of Saltmarsh was 81. Danger at Dunwater, 1982. Where was the third one? The Final Enemy, I guess. Yep, because it's Dave J. Brown for each of those. So it was the Final Enemy that's the third part of that. So we've got Salvage Operation from 2005, Isle of the Abbey from 1992, Tamarot's Fate from 2004, and The Styes from 2005. So these adventures have all been updated for 5th edition, obviously enough. Oh, hey, Kabuki Kid, the U series, U1 through 3. They were available in the US. I bought them back in the 80s. There you go, cool. So, yes, the old Saltmarsh adventures. Oh, and Kabuki Kid still has them. Wow, that's cool. So here we're going to get, looks like, the setting. So it's going to go into detail about the port setting of Saltmarsh. So this is all new. What I was going to say is I'm sort of curious. Here, okay. Dungeon Magazine had some good adventures in it over the years. I am not going to sit here and knock Dungeon Magazine completely. But also, Dungeon Magazine had some real crap in it. So, especially when 2nd edition was starting to come out, when it was on the horizon, suddenly all the adventures started getting really padded out. And it's what I kind of refer to as the failed novelist syndrome, where you'll have adventure authors who just, because obviously they were getting paid by the word, so they'll sit there and it's just, you know, an overflow of information and backstory and fluff that has absolutely nothing to do with the adventure at the table. So I'm kind of curious if, because some of these adventures we see was 2005, 2004, 2005, 1992. At that point, we were actually kind of in the point where we do have the, the vomiting of all this information, which actually makes the game very, very difficult, makes the adventure very difficult to actually run at the table. So the Madman says, as a former sailor, he's really looking forward to checking this out. So, all right. So, moving right along, got some artwork. Once again, it looks like Wizards of the Coast is not going to just put tons and tons of artwork. Now watch, I'll open this up and it's all artwork from here on out. But it looks like so far we're getting some a good amount of gaming material here. So we're still looking at Saltmarsh and the area around Saltmarsh. Okay, so we've got some random encounters for the wilderness outside the port. Talking about the sea. Coastal random encounters on the sea. Now we get into adventures in Saltmarsh. So the Sinister Secret of Saltmarsh, Dangers at Dunwater. So it's kind of giving the GM a kind of a breakdown a bit of the adventures that are in this book, how you can fit them into Saltmarsh and use Saltmarsh as kind of a base of operations for your player characters. Also, looks like showing some adventures from Tales of the Yawning Portal, which is a collection of classic first edition D&D adventures that's available out there. So looks like kind of talking about adapting these to use with Saltmarsh as well. We've got Saltmarsh backgrounds for character creation, so that's cool. Quite a bit of these. Nice. We got the ideals for the various different backgrounds as well. So all in all, we got about 30 pages or so of background on Saltmarsh. So that's nice. I like that. Oh, here we go. Here we go, Kabuki Kid. The Sinister Secret of Saltmarsh. I should point out, anyone watching the video who is not going to be a game master probably don't want to see the rest of this, simply because obviously I'm not familiar with every one of these adventures. I am familiar with this one, but there might be some spoilers. We might accidentally run across some spoilers, and I don't want to spoil your fun, your entertainment. So, Sinister Secret of Saltmarsh, and Kabuki Kid can correct me if I am wrong. But if I remember right, the Sinister Secret of Saltmarsh, the player characters are brought in to investigate a haunted house. What is this, called Cthulhu game? So yes, so they're brought in to check out this haunted house, which obviously is this right here. So is it ghosts? Is it monsters? I don't know. I'm not telling you. Oh, sweet. I like this. There's a little sidebar. Well, I guess we won't call it a sidebar. Sidebar's went down. There's a little section here talking about the original adventure. And the cover. Sweet. So Kabuki Kid says, yes, I am correct. A haunted house adventure. So, yes, we are not going to spoil what's actually going on. I'd have gotten away with it, too, if it weren't for you meddling kids. I have to laugh because so many people think that every episode of Scooby-Doo, when they would catch somebody, and, of course, obviously, it was always, a natural cause. It wasn't something supernatural. For some reason, there's this misconception that every one of the bad guys, when the police are taking them away, are always like, and I'd have gotten away with it too if it weren't for those meddling kids. I think it's only said like once, maybe twice. Okay, so got our maps, got some skeletal alchemist. Nice. I like the artwork. I am of the mindset. I happen to like 5th edition's artwork more than I like Pathfinder's. Pathfinder is more along the lines of a little too, well, I don't want to say anime or manga, a little too cartoony, in my opinion. And I thought 2nd edition Pathfinder was moving more towards realistic artwork, but I have seen some artwork, and it does look like it is, it's kind of the same style. So I like 5th edition tends to be a little less cartoonish, a little more realistic. And we have a newcomer, Redfield RE. So, welcome aboard. Yes, I missed 45 minutes already. You've only missed 48 pages of the page through. We had gaming news and so forth. So how is the page quality? Is the question from you and you. Decent. It is decent. I would not put it up there with, say, Modiphius Entertainment, like freely publishing stuff. I also wouldn't put it up there with, say, Ulysses Spiel. But it's not bad. It's not super thin. Because that is one of the things where... actually, I don't have them handy here. All right. Well, I guess I won't name the company. I received some physical books to take a peek at, I should say. And I opened. They're soft cover, but still, a couple of them. The paper quality was like super thin. I was like, whoa! It's like I can practically see my hand through it. Okay, so still continuing on with the Sinister Secret of Saltmarsh. There's our conclusion. Then we get Danger at Dunwater, which I do believe is actually the second part of the original Saltmarsh trio or trilogy. Here we go. Once again, we get the cool little information about the original, and it says, yes, it continued the Saltmarsh series, doubling down on TSR UK's penchant for exploration and interaction. So we've got some lizard folk involved in this. So we get a bit of a summary. Oh, so we get a roster of the lizard folk. Okay. That's cool. I was going to say, where's the map? Wait for the map. Yep, seems like yeah, it seems like most of the people are in chat are kind of like, yeah, they kind of like 5e art more than Pathfinders as well. So we got the map there. So pretty interesting. This, if I understand correctly, and I am just going way back because I never had this adventure. And we have somebody else new in chat. Pissumtree? Pissumtree? But I think, and Kabuki Kid, I'll reach out to you because you're familiar with this this trilogy of adventures. I think this is another adventure which is more about social interaction and exploration as opposed to just out and out combat, which is pretty much how the old school role-playing games were. It wasn't until we started getting into like 3rd edition D&D that that fantasy role-playing games started really focusing on like tactical combat. So then we've got Salvage Operation, which I want to say I think this was from Dungeon Magazine. So it says, when a ship missing for years is spotted adrift at sea, its one-time owner sees a final chance to recover a lost fortune. But what the former owner cannot know is the ship has a new master, and I will not read anymore because I don't want to spoil it. So we've got so this is from Dungeon Magazine 123. Oh, it's from written by Mike Merles. So we've got a map of the ship itself. So I am taking a guess this whole adventure is probably going to take place on the ship. And as we can see, this is pretty short because we're already at the conclusion here. Isle of the Abbey. I believe this is another Dungeon Magazine adventure. Yep, Dungeon Magazine 34. Wow, from 92. I thought Dungeon... Oh, no, I'm thinking Dragon. It's Dragon Magazine. I was going to say, they were only on issue 34 in 1992. But yes, it's Dungeon, not Dragon. Because Dragon Magazine was out for quite a while before Dungeon came along. So we've got this adventure here. Pirate's Path. So I'm not sure if these are keyed. I'm not sure because we have a lot of duplication. We got 444. Okay. The Abbey Runes. So we got a map of the Abbey, obviously enough. Another cool piece of art. And another conclusion. So it appears that the adventures they've taken from Dungeon, are not not the ones where it was like, wow, look at all these damn pages. Sort of like the whole failed novelist syndrome that I was talking about. So Kabuki Kid says Dragon started in 76. Yeah, that sounds about right. And it, what was the, I'm trying to remember. It was a TSR magazine. Well, I mean, fanzine really. When it first started off, And I think there were like 4 or 5 issues, and then it became the Dragon. So Kabuki Kid says that they remember Dungeon was originally subscription only. Yes, that's right. Although, yeah, you're right. Eventually, it was available in some places. It was not an easy magazine to find because I remember in Chicago, there was a place over, if you're familiar with Chicago, there's an area called Six Corners. And it's like Cicero and Irving Park. And now, I don't know if this place is still there, but the place was called The Newsstand. And what it was, it had newspapers and magazines from all around the world. And I used to go in there, I used to pick up Shadis or Shadis. So Kabuki Kid says Strategy and Tactics predated the Dragon. Yes, but Strategy and Tactics wasn't TSR. Although the title of the magazine is very, very... There we go. Thank you, Strategic Review. Because I was going to say, it's very, very similar to Strategy and Tactics. But anyway, I used to go in and I would pick up my Shadis, or Shadis, however you want to pronounce that, because I thought that was a really solid gaming magazine, that the reviews were good. So, hey, Flaming Huron's popping in. Good to see you, Flaming Huron. So I used to pick that up all the time, and I used to, on occasion, pick up Dungeon. And the funny thing is, I didn't run D&D at the time. So, I don't know. Like I said, I'm one of these game masters who I just love having my hands on different gaming material and reading it, even if I'm never, ever going to actually use it. So this is one where I believe the player characters are fighting off... I think it's pronounced Shahagan. The sea monsters. I think that's what's going on. It's like an invasion that they're trying to stop. So, oh yes, Pinky's starting to chime in. As I mentioned when I started the show, I've got both kitties downstairs with me in the Duct Tape Studios today. All right, the Madman's got to run. Hey, thank you, Madman. Be sure to check out the last few minutes of tonight's show when it's done rendering, because I will announce how one lucky subscriber is going to win my limited edition Ghosts of Saltmarsh. So, sure to take a peek. That'll be right like the last 5 minutes of the show, I'm sure. So, thanks for popping in. Kabuki Kid says those monsters are probably pronounced about that Chahagan. Cool. I defer to people who have a lot more experience with like D&D or Pathfinder, things like that. So this is a fairly long adventure here. So was this from Dragon? Let's take a look. This was... No, the final enemy. Oh, this is the final part of the Saltmarsh trilogy. Okay, sweet. Cool deal. No wonder it's longer. Because it's, it was a traditional module-sized adventure. All right, so that is the final adventure for the trilogy, but we still have, I think, 2 or 3 adventures left. So this is from Dungeon 106. So with Tamarat's fate, 5 years ago, a hermitage devoted to the contemplation of nature was established in an abandoned island fortress, once the site of a beacon meant to warn against invasion from the sea. The folk of the hermitage opened the island to people of all faiths, promising a place for those seeking solitude and peace. But that peace has now been shattered, and the characters must determine what force of evil has slain the residents of Firewatch Island, almost to last, and how to prevent an even greater tragedy to come. So it is designed for 4 to 6 9th level characters. The adventures, as I mentioned earlier on, the adventures are laid out to take characters from 1st to 12th level. Okay, so Firewatch Island. The Hermitage. It's interesting that as we see adventures that were from like the 2000s, how the maps are so different. The cartography is usually a lot more detailed. Preparing for the drowned ones. Oh, this must involve some undead sailors or something. Kind of like John Carpenter's The Fog. Okay, and then we've got the Styles. A series of mysterious murders shakes the downtrodden folk of the Styles, a decaying port fallen on hard times and slowly being reclaimed by the sea. Even after the so-called Lantern Ghost Killer is caught and executed, some of the district believe the true killer is still out there. It's left to the adventurers to follow the clues that the local militia ignores, exposing corruption, the clandestine activities of a dark cult, and the alien presence whose evil lurks beneath it all. It's Cthulhu. Obviously enough, it's Cthulhu. I'm kidding. So this is from Dungeon Magazine 121. Oh, hey. Okay, so right here it says, the Styles feels like it was pulled straight from the mind of H.P. Lovecraft. There you go. I was just kidding about it being Cthulhu. Or any of the other great old ones. So, murder mystery. So far, it does appear that at least the adventures aren't all just combat. Because I am not a fan of that. That's not how I run my games. So, because I tend to run more of an old school style anyway. So, fighting is very, very lethal. So, not to say that there isn't any action and adventure and stuff like that, but I'm not a fan of, okay, so we've got 4 hours to play tonight, and 3 of it is going to be taken up by 2 or 3 battles that you have. Okay, Flooded Temple, Aftermath. Okay, and then we get the first appendix of Ships in the Sea. So now we're going to get into what I know a lot of people are actually looking forward to as far as the Ghosts of Saltmarsh, and that is information about ships and combat with ships, probably traveling the seas and things like that. Kabuki Kid, combat in old school D&D. Run away, run away! Yeah, because old school games do not have challenge ratings or balancing encounters and things like that. Old modules, as we always like to call them, old modules were not set where it's like, okay, well, this is put together so that you get so many experience points, which are going to get you closer to whatever level. That is actually why both Dungeons & Dragons, and nowadays especially, and Pathfinder both have random encounters all the time. Random encounters are not necessarily built in for the players to have more stuff to fight or run across. Random encounters are usually, especially nowadays, because vast majority of random encounters are fighting, they're combat. And so Redfield says keep losing the feed. Huh, okay, that's kind of strange. Because we're not showing any well, we dropped some frames a long time back, but well, sorry about that. My apologies. Most definitely, yes, please check out the video once it's done rendering later on tonight. But anyway, I was going to say, random encounters are just basically there for experience points soak. To provide more experience points for the characters to level up while they're on their way to the next big thing in that adventure module. So, yeah, Kabuki Kid says the feed is good. Yeah, I figured it should be. We're looking okay. So, we get different ships. We get stat blocks for the different ships. So, we got a galley. We've got a keelboat, Longship. Sailing ship. Well, that could be any number of things. Officers and crew. Types of officers. Ship upgrades. Movement upgrades. Weapon upgrades. Figurehead upgrades. That's pretty funny. So, ships in combat. Not a whole lot of information about that. Travel at sea. Hazards. Crew conflicts. Yeah, mutiny. You says the feed's pretty good too. Kabuki Kid says random encounters also keep the PCs on their toes. They can't just camp out in a dungeon without possible consequence. Yes, but that, once again, that's an old school concept there. That's one of the reasons why you see modern games like D&D 5th edition. If your party is able to rest like an hour, you get half your hit points back. Old school, an hour, maybe you were catching your breath. But yes, because old school, especially like dungeon delves and things like that, it's all about resources and time management too. It's get in, get the loot, get out. And wandering monsters were something you did not want to run across because they're draining away those resources that you need for the things that you're going to run into throughout the dungeon. Shipwrecks, encounters at sea. Got quite a few different tables here. Random ships that you could run across. Was that like names of ships? Yep, ship names. So, a random generation for ship names. That's kind of cool. Mysterious islands, talking about various different island sizes. Underwater locations. So we've got a good amount of rules. The Wreck of the Marshall. So I guess this is an example of a shipwreck. Nice. Yeah, we're getting some example locations. This looks like an example undersea location. I'm not even gonna try to pronounce. What the heck is that? Worthilkeel Adventures. And we got magic items, so we've got some new magic items. Monsters and NPCs. Come on. So one thing I dislike about some books is when we get into the bestiary section, we don't get pictures of everything. I like pictures of everything. So you says, okay, Appendix A just sold me on the book. Kabuki Kid still plays old school D&D. I do like 5e and own the books. I like 5e. I think it was a good move when they kind of streamlined a lot of stuff. But I'm just an old school kind of guy, and I'm sure a lot of it has to do with nostalgia, growing up. I mean, I did play D&D just because I didn't necessarily run much D&D. But, yeah, to me, I think sometimes with more modern gamers or a more modern approach, some of the magic of playing a fantasy role-playing game is kind of lost, which I really, really try to instill in my players. That, they're not role-playing themselves in that situation. These characters are supposed to be different than the people sitting around the table. And I like to do just kind of wild, not necessarily totally gonzo stuff when I'm doing fantasy role-playing games, but just things where people are going to go, wow. You're going to stop for a minute and like, It's like I was running something for Cameron, my nephew, and some of his friends, just kind of as an introduction. And I actually I was basing it on Rise of the Rune Lords from Pathfinder. And I was just doing kind of a kit-bashed fantasy RPG that I've because I'm one of these guys. I don't have like a rule set that I'm going to stick to. And it was funny because I would have these guys are all teenagers and stuff. They're all in high school, and they're all sitting there like they'd be asking my nephew, "Hey, what was that about? What was all that about?" At school the next day or over the next few days. And my nephew's like, "I don't know. I wasn't running the game. I don't have the answers. Got to play again." Which unfortunately we did not play that one again. But we are working on something different now. Okay, so we've got the monsters. That finishes everything up. So we're looking at a grand total of 256 pages for Ghosts of Saltmarsh for 5th edition Dungeons & Dragons from Wizards of the Coast. As I pointed out before, this is available on May 21st. It will carry an MSRP of $49.95. I will mention, and I know some folks in chat already have pre-orders and things like that in. I will mention that I have seen it online as a pre-order as low as about $33. Now, I know some people get very upset when I talk about buying stuff online. I'm not telling you not to go to your friendly local gaming store, right? I'm not telling you not to go. But if, saving 15, 20 bucks is important to you, I do point out that you can probably find it online for about 33 bucks. So, as I had mentioned before I wrap up the show, I certainly do not require 2 copies of Ghosts of Saltmarsh. I certainly do not. So, what I am going to do is I'm going to have a contest. I am going to run this contest until May 19th because that will give me time to actually send this out to the winner. And that way they should have it on the 21st because I'll ship it out priority mail. So what I'm going to do here is if by May 20th, and I know this is going to sound kind of tough, but if by May 20th I have 2,000 subscribers on YouTube and you make a comment on any videos from today through the 19th, not the 20th, the 19th. May 19th. So if you comment on any of the videos on the Gaming Gang channel from today until the 19th, you will be in the running. I will actually choose a winner on the 19th and make sure that they've got my email address to shoot it out. Okay, so you just said Amazon's got Ghosts of Saltmarsh for $29.79. See, it's even less than I saw it. So that is the contest. 2,000 subscribers, and anybody who makes a comment on the videos, either today's video, tomorrow's video, next week's videos, they will be in the running, and you get 1 entry for every comment you make. And that's got to be a legitimate comment. And it can't be, "Jeff, you suck." Why would I give something away to somebody who says something like that to me, right? Does chatting count as commenting? Nope, it does not. So, see, the whole thing is the 2,000 subscribers. That's like 550 subscribers away. I don't know. I will figure out some other stuff too, though. Because I want to give things away. I want to, but to me, part of it is, I want to do contests, and a lot of times it's PDF stuff, especially for role players. But I want to be able to provide this stuff to people who actually subscribe and check out the show. So that's why I point out, got to make a comment. So I will actually mention this contest every show until the 19th. And then on the 19th, we'll say 5 p.m. Central, you have to have your entry in. Have your comment and be a subscriber by then. And then I will announce the winner. And I believe we've got some folks who are hanging out in chat who have won some of my previous contests. So that's pretty cool. I should make a special video announcing the contest that may draw subscribers. I will... yeah, I could do that, but I don't know. I might tweet it. I might do a special tweet and probably like pin the tweet up top. Flaming Huron's asking worldwide shipping. Ouch. Depends. I will have to look to see what shipping rates are, because I have sent stuff to like the UK before, and it cost me an arm and a leg. So it might have to be the continental 48 states. I'll try to figure something out. I'll try to figure something out too for folks who are not in the US who do catch the show, because actually, funny enough, as far as like analytics go, a lot of people from Germany check out the website and the videos. I wouldn't have thought it'd be Germany. I'd have thought like UK probably, but no, Germany. So, all right, so there you have it. That is it for tonight's show. As I mentioned, tomorrow is Wednesday, Wargame Wednesday. So I will be unboxing and taking a first look at Time of Crisis from GMT Games, as well as I move stuff around. Come on, you get over here. The Iron and Rust expansion. We're going to take a look at that tomorrow as well. It's fine. I'll still comment and say subscribe. Thank you, Flaming Huron. I appreciate that. Don't forget, Thursday is episode 300 of The Daily Dope. And I'm going to be taking a look at Things from the Flood, which isn't out yet either. Something else we're going to explore together. Yes, Kabuki Kid says Germans do dig gaming. I completely agree. I completely understand. A lot of people in Europe, it's not unusual for people to walk into a pub and see people playing board games. Here in the US, it's pretty weird because I've done it. And people have been like, what is that? I've played Twilight Struggle in bars. Pubs. I guess we won't say bars. All right, so that is it for today's show. Hey, Dan, thank you very much. You have a great night as well. As I like to always point out, when you're not watching videos on the Gaming Gang channel, be sure to go visit thegaminggang.com for all the latest in gaming news, reviews, comics, movies, TV. By now you know the drill. Get your geek on at thegaminggang.com. I will be back tomorrow. Everyone who joined me in chat, thank you very much for keeping me company once again. And of course, whether you watch live or on Memorex, thanks for watching. Thanks again for watching The Daily Dope, presented by The Gaming Gang. If you like this episode, be sure to give it a quick thumbs up. And if you dig the channel, please subscribe. If you'd like to check out our previous episode, click right here. And if you want to check out a somewhat randomly selected episode, give a click right down here. It'll be like opening a box of Cracker Jacks. You just don't know what you'll get. Once again, thanks for watching, and I'm Jeff McAleer.